Dynamic warm-ups. So a great thing to do prior to doing anything activity related, whether it be a sport, practice, training session, it's so good to do a dynamic warm-up prior to. You see a lot of people either not warming up or they're holding static stretching prior to an event, which can sometimes be dangerous because it dampens kind of your reflexes, which can then lead to injury. So I thought what I would do is I did a video of myself doing a dynamic warm-up prior to my training, and I'm just going to kind of do a voiceover and chat through kind of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Okay, so pretty much what's happening here is I'm actually doing some ankle circles, and it's great for warming up the articular systems. Just because your joints are surrounded by fluid, actually known as synovial fluid, it's so important to start to get all your joints lubricated. And that's why they say actually within your dynamic warm-up, you really want to warm up the articular system. So you see, like I'm going from my ankles right into my knees. I usually do about 10 circles clockwise, 10 circles counterclockwise. Depending if I'm really stiff, sometimes I'll do a bit more. It just depends. Now, prior to this, I did do a warm-up. So I did a little bit of a cardiovascular warm-up. Now you see me going right into the hips again, working through the articulations through the hips, through the lower back. My cardiovascular warm-up was about 2 to 3 minutes. It's just to kind of get a light perspiration going, so you're warming up kind of all the joints, which is really important to do prior to going into starting to do the full dynamic warm-up. So yeah, I'm finishing kind of off through the hips, about 10 each direction. And then I go up and I start doing some twists through the thoracic spine. And I actually get up on my toe and I do a little bit of rotation through my leg as well. And I find it just kind of gets everything starting to warm up. I let my head kind of go with it too, just opening up the front part of my body, getting things kind of a little bit looser, a little bit more mobile. So again, I do about maybe like 10, sometimes even 20 reps in total, so 10 each side. And then I start going fully into kind of the coxofem joint, which is your hip joint, and I really get kind of a full circle. Now, sometimes I'm just doing a full circle here. You can do a figure of 8, which is great too. A figure of 8 is kind of like that lemniscat. You kind of bring it through that infinity symbol, which is great because it gets kind of all the articulations through your hip joint. And then I go right into leg swings. And when you're doing these, what I find is it's great when you bring the leg through, is to kind of almost point your foot slightly and turn the leg in. And then when you bring the leg out, so away from the body, I tend to flex my foot and really open up the hips. So you're kind of going from in to out, in to out, in to out, and just kind of warming everything up in there. I find it's a great stretch through the groin. And then I usually switch and I'll go to the front. And again, like, I'm trying to actually stretch the quad muscle when my leg comes back. So again, we're starting to warm up some of the fascial chains here. So it's not just the articulation anymore, it's actually a bit through the fascial chains. When I bring the leg forward, I'm getting a great stretch through the hamstrings. When I bring the leg back, I actually slightly bend the knee, so I get a nice pull through the front part of my thigh. Obviously, because we have 2 sides, you have to do it bilaterally, which means both legs. Otherwise, you might be walking around the gym a little lopsided through your warm-up. And again, it's just kind of about 10 rotations clockwise, 10 rotations counterclockwise. And again, just kind of doing the full circular motion through the hip. Now, if you get click in your hip, good idea to keep the leg a little bit lower when you're doing those circles. And then again, I'm coming right back. You can kind of see a little bit from this angle. I'm opening up my hip when I bring the leg out, and then I'm trying to kind of turn my toes in as I'm bringing my leg across my body. So just kind of opening everything up here, kind of letting, again, kind of opening up through the inside of my leg and the outside of my leg. Again, stretching through kind of medial and lateral fascial chains. And then when you see in a second, when I go right here, forward to back, I'm opening up the anterior and the posterior fascial chains. And it's interesting, when I flipped over onto this side, you can see I'm starting to do a bit of plantar flexion through my left foot. So I'm actually picking up my foot. I didn't do that on the other side. Funny enough, sometimes I guess I switch it up, but it's good to kind of get an example of both. You can either keep the supporting leg flat, or you can start to do a little bit of almost like a calf raise, again, to warm up a bit of now the muscular system. So getting kind of the fascial systems. Oh, I guess my socks started going off. And sometimes I'll go into doing a bit of twist again to see, oh, am I getting a bit more range? Which I am. I'm getting a little bit looser. I'm feeling like a nice stretch through the front part of my body. I'm really starting to open things up. So So it's kind of nice. Sometimes I'll circle back to doing, again, kind of what I did before, just again, open up everything. So now I'm getting more into the muscular system. So I'm really trying to, again, stretch the anterior front chains of the fascia and get into a big, deep squat as I go down. And I'm actually, when I go down, I'm pushing my knees out to the side with my elbows. So I get even more of a stretch through my groin muscles, kind of getting everything starting to work for me. When I come up and I stretch my arms back, I'm really opening up through my front body. I'm really trying to get things going. And now I'm starting to bring my hands down towards the ground. Oh, not with that one. But sometimes what I do is I will start bringing my hands towards the ground as well, just because I feel like I get even more stretch through the front part, in through my groin. But when I'm ready, when I'm warm. And again, I do about 10. Now these are actually Feldenkrais thoracic spine mobilization. This is what the technique is that I'm doing, where I'm looking at my hand when I turn it down, and the other hand, the opposite hand that I'm not looking at, actually goes towards the ceiling. And I'm really just trying to rotate right through. Again, working through the arm fascial chains, getting things loose, getting my connective tissue ready for my workout. A little bit of shoulder rolls. I typically find that feels so good, just because I do get tight around my shoulders and my neck. And this is actually good. I go right into my neck. Some people will go fully right around. I find, just because I've had some wear and tear on my neck through the years of boxing, I actually will kind of sometimes just take it a little bit side to side. Sometimes it will go fully around, but not all the times, because it can be hard on your facet joints, on the ligaments, and even on your discs. Where am I going? What am I doing? Oh, I know what I'm doing. Doing some lunging. I love these. Again, warming up the muscles, and again, warming up the anterior or front fascial chains. And I like doing a lot of twisting. You'll notice through my dynamic warm-up, I love to twist. I just find it really gets everything going in your body, because when you're going to be doing any activity or sport, you are twisting a lot. Like, there's not a lot of linear sports out there where you don't get that twist going through. And I tend to really push my weight back, so I'm really getting a big stretch in the back leg. So with this example, I'd be getting a big stretch through the left side of my left leg. And I'm pressing my big toe down, both in the front and in the back, because I'm really trying to connect my feet with the ground. I'm really trying to get grounded and warm up my proprioceptives around the foot and the ankle. So again, I usually do about 10, and I like to add a twist in with those. Then I go into a bit of wood choppers. Again, really rotating through the thorax, and I'm getting my hip and my feet, and I'm changing levels here. So instead of just going horizontally, which I did at the very beginning, I'm starting to go diagonally. So I'm actually changing levels, going from bottom to top, and just kind of twisting through the hip. And then the same thing, I go through the other side. Again, really connecting my feet with the ground, really getting a good twist through my ankles, my knees, my hips, my lumbar spine, my thoracic spine, and then I follow a little bit with my cervical. And you also see I can get that all the way through my shoulders. And just kind of do, again, about maybe 10 reps each side. And then finish it off, shake it out a little bit, walk around. And I'm just thinking if I did anything else here, or that finished it off. I think it did, yes. I went into doing a bit of, I like these, you can see, unfortunately my feet are a little bit cut off. But what I do is I do like almost like a downward dog, and then I push forward into a little bit, but not full plank. I'm just trying to warm my shoulder girdle and get my core activating with my lower body and my upper body. I'm not stressing it too much. I'm not kind of engaging kind of into like a upward dog, or I think it's called like a cobra. I'm not really arching the curves in through my spine. I'm just trying to warm up again kind of the shoulder girdle and my legs, and warm my core. And again, I do about maybe 10 reps, kind of warm everything up. And I think that's it. And that's the warm-up. So actually, this was a warm-up I did prior to Thai boxing, and I felt it was quite a good kind of warm-up to get me ready, articularly, muscularly, Oh my God, I'm still going. It's amazing how much I do in a dynamic warm-up. Sometimes I don't realize how many things I do. This is just basically kind of a groin stretch. Side to side. Sometimes I like to add a little bit of a twist in it. Again, you know me and twisting through my dynamic warm-up. I really like to kind of warm up the core and the spine that way because I find it doesn't shock the system when you go into your activity or sport. So there it is. So again, I kind of go into a bit of a twist, again, opening up the front part of my body, warming up my shoulders, warming up my hips, warming up my groin, inner thighs, ankles, yeah, everything all the way through. And I'm not sure how long it actually takes me to do my dynamic warm-up. It could be kind of like 5 to 10 minutes, but that's it. I'm all done here and I'm actually ready to train.